How we doing, Wolfpack fans? My name is Peter Long from University of Nevada Wolfpack Athletics, alongside head coach Matt Meuchel, entering his 7th season as the head coach of the Nevada softball program. We start the season this week at the Kajikawa Classic in Tempe, Arizona, where you face North Carolina, Oregon State, and number 2 Oregon. What do you expect out of your team in this tournament? You face a lot of tough competition.
Yeah, I think it'll be a stiff test for us. There's no question. That's the whole reason of going to this tournament is you're going to get a great competition out of the block. You're going to get a pretty good idea right out of the chute of where you're at. You can't overlook a great Fordham team that typically is the best team in the Atlantic 10 Conference, and we get them game 1 right out of the chutes. So we'll have a pretty good gauge after the first 5 games of where this club is. We'll get a chance to kind of get a pretty good idea of where the freshmen are. But that being said, it's a long season and it's kind of more of a marathon than a sprint.
So last season you finished 27-25, but at the end of last season you win 6 of your last 9 in conference. What did you do at the end of last season that you can translate into the beginning of the season?
Well, I think that last season, in the middle of the season when we kind of struggled a little bit, certainly we were hampered a little bit with injuries. So it was one of those situations where I wouldn't say we were healthy at the end of the year. I just think we kind of had mentally figure out how to handle that situation, really started to play good ball, put ourselves in a situation where we played consistent ball late and kind of, just kind of handled it on that front. And it's one of those situations where it's great to finish the season under that in that way and carry that into this season.
So in the circle this year, you're going to throw senior Megan Dorch, sophomore McKenna Eisenberg, and freshman Chase Reddington. Not the most that you've had on your staff lately, but there's still quality arms that you can throw out there every day.
Yeah, it's a situation where we may be a little bit thinner as far as numbers go, but in our sport with being able to throw multiple games and back-to-back games on back-to-back days, a lot of times depth is somewhat overrated in the sense that you got to have quality depth. And I think with the 3 that we've got talented arms in the circle. We got the ability to go out and beat any given team on any given day with any of the 3 of them. So look for good things out of all 3 of them this season.
This season you returned arguably one of the top middle infield tandems in the conference, and shortstop Megan Sweet and second baseman Carly Hopkins. Especially having Carly Hopkins back after an injury-shortened season last season, how important is it from an offensive standpoint and defensive standpoint to have those 2 back?
Well, I think it's a situation where they played together for 1 full year, and then last year kind of started out for 10 games, and they hit together in the lineup, and they're certainly catalysts in our offense. This year I'm not quite sure that they're going to sit next to each other 1 and 2 in the lineup, but to have Hopkins back is a huge shot in the arm for our offense. There's no question. She's somebody that has proven year after year what you're going to get from her. So it's not one of those situations where you're kind of wondering exactly what you're going to get from Carly Hopkins. You're going to get double-digit extra base hits every season. You're going to get a 350-plus hitter. You're going to get somebody that's going to be consistent on defense and make all the routine plays and sometimes make some real spectacular ones out there. So, to have that tandem back in the middle of our infield and have that experience and to have their offense and what they provide for us, I think is integral. I mean, there's no question that on offense, those 2 are kind of going to be the ones that lead us. I mean, we got a lot of talent up and down the lineup, but they're kind of the leaders at the top of the lineup and set the stage for everything from there.
And in the outfield, you return 2 starters, but you're also looking for some new players to step in and fill some spots in the outfield. What do you expect out of your new outfielders, and what do you expect from the outfield this season?
Yeah, I think the outfield is a little bit like the rest of the field. I mean, we've got some freshmen. I mean, we've got a freshman, Leah Gibson, who's very talented. I expect that she'll get some starts early, and from there, kind of see how it situates from there. We're really deep in the outfield. There's no question. I mean, we've got really right now in the way we're sitting in the players that we've got out there, we've got 3 returning starters that we're putting out there. I mean, Nicola Roscoe started quite a bit last year for us, injured and had to have surgery and kind of made her way out of the outfield early in the year. Danielle Wiltz is somebody that started it pretty much most of the year for us out there. And then Jasmine Jenkins, who's been an infielder for the previous 2 seasons and started pretty much for 2 seasons, is finding her way out there now. So you've got 3 returning starters essentially out there, and then you've got a really talented freshman. And really we've got some great depth in newcomer and Raquel Martinez and Molly McWilliams, a senior. So there's a ton of depth in the outfield. I think it's a situation where we've got a lot of speed, a lot of athleticism out there, so we'll be able to cover a lot of ground defensively. I think we'll do some great things out there. It's going to just kind of sort itself out as far as the 3 that are out there. And the great thing is if it gives us the opportunity to maybe play maybe not one of our best defensive outfielders, but our best offensive outfielder. And then in the middle of the game, late in the game, we can make a late game defensive substitution to kind of beef up our defense in the outfield if we've got a lead in the game. So it gives us a lot of options. The depth this year, I think, gives us some options that maybe we didn't necessarily have in the past, to be able to toy with a few things offensively and defensively.
So you talk about Aaliyah Gibson stepping in right away in center field to step up. Her classmates, Alyssa Mendez at third base and Jennifer Purcell at first base, went into the decision, and what made you? What did you see out of those two in the fall that made you want to put them in right away?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I think right away you kind of see whether or not they have the skill level to kind of compete at this level. I mean, whether they can hit as a Division I level hitter, whether they can play defense, and I don't think there's any question, within 4 or 5 practices that in Mendez and Purcell that you're going to have hitters that were going to bring consistency to our lineup, a lot of power to our lineup, which is something that certainly we were needing and probably turned over a little bit last year with the departure of Aaron Jones. So, it's a situation where as a freshman, you kind of don't know what you're going to get as far as a consistency level until you get out there in a 56-game season. You don't know how they're going to necessarily handle the adjustment to Division I level pitching, but so far, I mean, they've shown only signs that they're going to flourish at this level, from freshman year on at this point. So we're excited to have those guys. I think they're going to be staples at the corner spots all year long. There's no question defensively, both of them can handle it, and offensively at this point, they can handle it as well. I mean, I think they're going to go through, the ups and downs a little bit that you experience as a freshman, but, that's not always the case. They might just seriously come in and flourish.
You talk about those two offensively. You returned 4 of your top 5 hitters from last season as well. You've experienced some prolific offensive here at the University of Nevada. What do you want to see out of your offense this year? And I mean, can they match up to some of those top offenses that you've had in the past?
I think there's no question from a talent standpoint that we match up with those offenses in the past. We've the last 2 years we have a couple of great offenses. 2008, 2009 were special offenses. So when you compare it to that group, I think we have as much depth and as much talent as that group. There's no question. We're veteran and we've proven what we can do. It's one thing to do it once and then not do it again, but we've got Megan Sweet has done it twice now, so what you're going to get from Megan, what you're going to get from Jasmine Jenkins, what you're going to get from Hopkins, what you're going to get from Butera. I mean, there's a lot of tangibles that you kind of know exactly what you're going to get from them, which is a lot of great offensive play out of them, and then additionally you see a ton of talent and a ton of competition out of the freshman class, which is huge.
You see some great competition in the non-conference season, but the conference slate is kind of wide open. San Diego State obviously being the top dog. How do you think your team will match up with your schedule this season and the teams in the Mountain West?
I really like the ball club. I like the ball club on a lot of fronts. I mean, I like the ball club from a talent standpoint. I like the ball club from a depth standpoint. I like the ball club from being great on offense. I like the ball club from being good at pitching, being able to defend. So all of the things, all the little categories that you're looking for. It's a situation where until you get out there and play, and because we didn't play in the fall, and we didn't play in the fall just because we were recovering from, we had a lot of people banged up, recovering from summer surgeries and situations in which we weren't going to be at full steam. Until we play really against somebody else over and over again, you're not quite sure how the intangibles are all going to stack up. Who's going to be the leadership on the field, how we're going to play together as a team, all those things. Certainly the things that we talk about daily in practice, those are the things that are going to kind of separate a little bit. But I like our chances. I mean, the conference is wide open. I think the conference is as strong as it's been, but I don't know that it's top heavy by any means. In the past it was kind of everybody chasing San Diego State, but with the departure and the transfer of, their Daniel O'Toole, which was pitcher of the year last year in the conference, and freshman of the year before that, there's nobody that really I think is going to really run away with this. So I think there's 5 or 6 real quality teams. I would consider us one of those that's going to stack up. I like the way our schedule, non-conference and conference shapes up. So it's a situation where at this point we're just excited to be able to get out there and compete this week.
Nevada head softball coach Matt Meuchel entering his 7th season in Reno as the head man. You can follow the team all season long on NevadaWolfPack.com. And Coach, we'll see you at home in March when the first home series comes around.
Thank you.